This is Brian Meador from East Carolina University. You are listening to the Sports Objective, the official, unofficial podcast of the Pirates.
Well, Bubba, very excited to have our next guest back on the show.
Yeah, no doubt, Dave. Obviously, football season is just around the corner, but right now we're very excited to talk East Carolina Pirate basketball as we're joined by head coach Joe Dooley. Coach, we know you're on the road recruiting, and we appreciate you joining us this afternoon. How's your summer going?
It's been short. You know, they keep us busy. We're able to. It's good to be back out on the recruiting trail. We're able to go out every weekend, and then during the week, we come back on the Sunday night or Monday morning, and then we're able to work with our guys on the court. So we get a good 4 days. If we're leaving on Friday, we go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with the guys on the floor, and we head out recruiting again, which we'll do again tomorrow.
Coach, I was actually in college when you were the assistant coach, and Coach Eddie Payne, you guys took the team to the tournament there in 1993. We were saddened to lose Coach recently, and before we start diving into current ECU basketball, I just want to get your thoughts on Coach Eddie Payne.
I think the representation that he had at the funeral, and his wife Ann was a former coach, and Coach was revered as a person more so than as a coach, and everybody revered him as a coach. I think he lived life the right way. He cared about people. He tried to do things right. He was a very moralistic person. I think the pastor at the church, summed it up. He said, I'm not mad at God, but when I've heard of Coach Payne's death, I said, why Eddie? And I think a lot of us felt that way. I think he was sort of, he was helping in the area with the prisoners in jail that were struggling with some problems and trying to do some ministry stuff, and still active. And he'd only retired about 3 years ago, and I just wish we got more time to spend with him. And it was very nice for some of the guys, the Lester Lyons and the Ike Copelands and the Chucky Robinsons, among others, to show up and pay their respect to Coach.
Yeah, Coach, I was able to hear some of the remarks of Ike Copeland and Lester Lyons when you guys were on 94.3 The Game with Patrick Johnson talking about Coach's passing. But just the words they had to share from guys who played under him for all those years, it showed you the type of man he was, in addition to obviously a tremendous basketball coach.
Yeah, it was, I spent the first 7 years of my career with Coach. I was with him as an assistant at South Carolina, and then we went, I was here with him as an assistant for 4 years, and just to see the people, Coach Odom, who we worked for here when he was an assistant, Dave Odom, and his wife Lynn came to the funeral, and Dave Hart and Dave and Pam Hart, George Felton, who was an assistant here, who was the director of player personnel for the Spurs. And on a funny side, like Coach Tubby Smith and I, who worked with Eddie at South Carolina, we were on the road recruiting when we found out where the funeral was, and we actually had to show up in coaching gear. And Ann thought that was hilarious. His wife Ann thought that was funny that we came to a coach's funeral in coaching gear. So there was a little, though there was a lot of sadness, she was very appreciative, and we were just glad that we could get there and pay our respects to Coach.
Coach, we obviously want to spend the majority of our time on the here and now and talking about the future of East Carolina basketball. But since this is the first time we've talked to you since the season wrapped up in March, just if you would kind of, summarize the craziness of the 2020-2021 campaign. We got off to a 7-1 start, beat some programs in that process that we had struggled to beat in recent years, quite honestly. And then you had those two lengthy COVID shutdowns of 2 weeks and then about 3.5 weeks. But you were able to get a big win over number 5 Houston.
It was a weird year. I did think we were much better, and I don't know how good we could have been if, things hadn't come off the track. We got some guys contact traced and positive right after Christmas, including myself, where I was contact traced, and then a couple weeks later tested positive. So it was a helpless feeling. It was also, when you look back, it was weird. There was times we had 4 guys to practice, and you're doing, then you're afraid, well, what's going on. The biggest thing you always concerned yourself about was when you were coming out of these shutdowns was how do you get the guys back in shape so they don't get hurt? Because you throw in, COVID where you have some guys out, and then usually every year you have something happen. Someone sprains an ankle, or breaks an ankle, or a foot, or has a stress fracture. All those things are already accounted. Then you start throwing in 3 or 4 other guys. It was really weird, and I felt bad for the kids. Although we just, obviously had the choice whether to play or not. Just you come back from a game at 1:00 in the morning on the road, and then you got a test at 7:00 in the morning, and you can't practice till you get the results back. That we the antigen tests have come back, everybody's negative. Now you can practice, and then you wait on the PCR test. And we've had somebody test positive, or we're shut down. So and so's had some of their shut down. Just not knowing what you're going to do and when you're going to play. And the last one was a lengthy run. I mean, it was a hard season for a lot of teams, a lot of people. I did think when we were healthy and we had everybody together, I thought we made a lot of improvement. But you don't know because you missed a bunch of games and we missed a bunch of practices, and those things happen.
One of the things I know was very frustrating for you and the staff. I know right after we beat number 5 Houston, we went on the road, took Memphis down to the wire. Unfortunately, didn't shoot the ball very well from the perimeter in that game. And then kind of a similar story the next game against SMU. We were tied or close to it right there around the 8-minute mark.
About 8 minutes left. Yep.
And just could not make shots down the stretch. And so just talk about the frustrations with some of the lack of perimeter shooting.
Well, I mean, we had, Tremont went on had a run of a while where he had shot the ball for about the first 8 or 9 games where he shot the ball real high level, almost a 40% level. And then he went into a little slump, and I didn't think JJ shot it as well statistically as he's been able to. I think he's going to continue to get better at those deals, and obviously he'll be back. But I do think that'll be a big emphasis during the summer. Hopefully, with some of the recruiting. Also, I think Winston Tabbs, career-wise, has been a good 3-point shooter. Vance Jackson's a 40% 3-point shooter. And I think some of the guys that we've added from the perimeter, Tay Mosier can really shoot the ball. R.J. Felton. Now does that translate once we start playing? When the bullets are live, that remains to be seen. And but I do think we spent a lot of time, during the off season on it, and we also are getting an off season. A year ago we hadn't done anything at this point. The guys weren't even back on campus, so you weren't able to work with our guys and get in the gym. And then basketball is a game of rhythm, like every other sport. You play a few games, you get shut down a little bit. You can't shoot, and it's a feeling. It's a timing deal.
Coach, can you talk about the recruiting trail? You're one of the best recruiters in the country. Talk about how that's gone. I know you can't talk about specific players, but overall, can you give us a generic statement about how recruiting is going for this year?
Well, I feel like we're in pretty good position. Now the crazy thing is, and I'm not the only coach that can't figure this out. You don't know how many scholarships you're going to have with this portal. I mean, theoretically we've got 2 guys that can come back because JJ and Vance are super seniors or whatever that class is called, and so that puts you at 12, and with one commitment, you're back to even. Do you evaluate and also look for the best available? Some people are saying if you lose a person to the portal, take someone from the portal to replace them. I think the big thing will be evaluating all these high school kids, and I still would like to recruit some high school guys, and then as we get down the road, maybe to look to fill in with a person from the portal if that's what we need.
Coach, before we dive into what's returning, what's coming in, and let's talk about what's returning. You referenced some of those guys already, but let's start off with Tristan Newton. Tristan obviously had a tremendous freshman year, and then last year he did some good things in some respects, but he really struggled to shoot the basketball. So just talk about Tristan's progression and how things are going for him this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he got off to – it was a little bit of a weird start, and then obviously he got shut down for a little bit. And, when he came out of quarantine, he put on some weight, and then to tell you the truth, he got hurt. He was hurt. I think it hurt his balance a little bit. He's worked hard. We've tweaked his shot a little bit. Got a little higher release point, tried to get the ball a little bit more on the right side of his body. He's worked really hard. I mean, everybody forgets he really should have been a freshman last year when you look at his age. So I do think that he'll bounce back, but I think he's had a good summer so far. hopefully he'll return to where he played as a freshman.
Coach, wanted to ask you about another one of the guys that I think is a crucial piece. They're all crucial, but what about Brandon Suggs coming back, and how does he look for this coming year?
Well, Brandon actually shot the ball. He shot with a pretty good rate last year. He's worked on. I think one thing he's gotten better at is really ball handling. We've spent a lot of time with that and him making plays off the bounce. JJ actually did a really improved JJ Miles the year before. I was surprised by the jump he made and with his ball handling and ability to get a shot. And I think JJ needs to shoot more wide open threes. And I think Brandon, they'll probably try to chase him off the line a little bit more. So I think we'll have to keep working on him making plays off the dribble. And I think he's really worked on his passing. We've done a lot more passing and drive and kick type stuff, which I think will help him.
Coach, before we talk about the new pieces you have coming in, and there are 9 of those, talk about Luigi DeBow. How's Luigi's progression, and then also touch on the walk-ons with obviously Brendan Kelly and then David Kasangana.
Well, I think we got Luigi. I think one of the things that's really going to benefit Luigi is he's had a whole spring. When we shut him down in December the year before, he never got. He was literally shut down until last September, where he wasn't able to do anything live. And I think the repetitions that he's been able to get this summer and the spring will really help him. A lot of skill work. I think his body's in much better shape. And he told me for the first time in a while, his knees and his feet don't hurt. Well, he had a problem with the foot. He obviously had the foot surgery. He said the foot feels great. I think he's got to keep getting better. We got to keep working with him, which we will. Tremont obviously is back also. Tremont Robinson-White. Tremont has been, in the gym a lot shooting, and he got off to a great start and then had a real rough stretch towards the end of the year shooting the ball. And I think some of that's attributed to, quarantine and maybe lost his confidence a little bit and then not getting to shoot it as much. But hopefully we can get his confidence back, and we've tweaked him. Tweaked his shot a little bit with getting his right foot forward a little bit. BK and DK, 2 of the walk-ons, have been good. Their effort every day and their attitude really, really helps us.
Coach, last fall, you had 3 guys sign. One of those is R.J. Felton, very athletic guard out of Aiken, South Carolina. Tell us about R.J.
Plays at one speed, full throttle. Great college-ready body. I mean, looks like a college player already as a freshman. Very willing to learn, tries really hard, very aggressive. I think he's got a really good future, really, really good future.
Coach, I want to talk about as far as this team as a whole. I've heard words on the street of people saying that this is the most athletic team that you've had since you've been there. Is that a fair statement?
I think we're longer and more athletic. I think that's the biggest thing is just getting along. That's, people in our league. When you go to Memphis, we've got some 6'5", 6'6" wings now. So those get just like they do. The Suggs and the Miles, JJ Miles and the Alexis Reyes, those guys are all 6'5", 6'6". RJ is slapped together. He's every bit of 6'3.5", 6'4", and he's long. And I think the other thing that, along with the young guys, Marlon Leston is a long, wiry kid, the kid from Canada, who I think is, as he gets stronger, will be a good player. And I think the other thing with adding maturity with some of the older guys that we had with, Vance Jackson is obviously, he's been at UConn and had a really good stretch at New Mexico, and then had a little bit of a rough year last year at Arkansas because they had some really good players and had a really good team. But he's a guy that's proven he can score 16, 17 a game in the Mountain West. And obviously Winston Tabbs with, career 40% three-point shooter in the ACC. And then you throw in, Zoe Frink, who I saw in high school and I really liked him. We couldn't get him. He went to South Carolina. He's a big-bodied, strong kid who I think is really skilled. So those mature guys, I think, will help our young guys because they've seen it before.
Coach, you talk about the length of Alexis Reyes on the perimeter, 6'7" out of Massachusetts. Talk about Tay Mosher. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. Out of
I almost forgot Tay, didn't I? But he can really shoot the ball. And, we were talking about the other day, he might end up being 6'8" by the time he graduates. He's lanky. He's in here all the time shooting. He's got to learn to play a little bit lower, which a lot of these high school guys do. But I think his range and his ability to shoot the ball will help us. That's something that I think we'll be able to tweak a little bit how we play with those guys, and allowing them to ghost some ball screens and put those guys in cleared sides and replace actions where they can maybe shoot some more threes than we have previously.
Coach, I had a question as far as one of the hot topics we've been talking a lot about on our show is name and image and likeness. I want to get your thoughts on that, because you always are great to the media about giving your thoughts about, I guess, things that are good for the game, things that are not good for the game. And how do you feel about name, image, and likeness?
Well, I mean, it's hit us, so we have to adjust. And I think, the players have gotten to a position where they can do it. Now it's how do you make sure that you give them the best opportunity to do without putting them in bad spots or having themselves put themselves in bad spots. And, they're all going to be paying attention to. It's going to be an important recruiting discussion. And I think you have to keep up to date. As we're speaking, there's a name, image, and likeness seminar going on for our players right now. So their education is the most important part of it. And I do see, as you know, they're all looking at them. They can read ESPN, and they can see all these things and what guys are getting or allegedly getting, and they're going to try to figure it out for themselves, I'm sure.
Coach, with so many new pieces, talk about the process of getting those guys developing the chemistry you need to be successful, and then talk about the options that having so many pieces that are so versatile, and what that will provide you and the staff.
Well, I think the big things, we'll probably do more team things in the fall. We spend a lot of time on skills right now, which is good. We've done a lot of 3-on-3, a lot of one-on-one, a lot of drive and kick. And I think what that'll allow us to do in the fall is, we're allowed 4 hours a week on the court with our guys during the fall when we come back in August. And I do think we'll do more team stuff than we've done previously, which is fine. More playing, more up and down. Maybe if it's just down, back down, just to get a little bit of familiarity, introduce some things maybe a little earlier than we have previously, and try to have them play a little bit more so they can get a feel for each other.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about, of course, Coach Rockford did a nice job for you. He leaves and goes to Texas A&M, and a Texas guy, and his roots there with Buzz. But I want to get your thoughts on, do we have a timetable on the next assistant coach with you?
Yeah, we've interviewed some people. I'm not in as big a rush as you would think. I mean, I think when we know where we are recruiting, we're trying to evaluate that, and then what's most important for our staff, and who helps us with our players the most, who fits in and as an added bonus and gives us something that maybe as a staff we don't have.
Coach, taking a look at the 2021-22 schedule. Last season, the American chose to go with the 20 games. This year, I believe it's back to 18. And then also, I know we're planning a couple of events. One, which is just a one-game deal down in Charlotte against a very good Liberty program, and then also an event in Myrtle Beach.
Yes, we'll be in Myrtle Beach just before Thanksgiving. Those matchups have not been defined yet, so we'll hopefully know on that something, and give our guys a chance to play in an NBA arena when we play in Charlotte, which will be a cool experience for a lot of these guys who've never done that before. So it'll be pretty cool for those guys. It's a four-game deal that same day. We're one of the games, and obviously we have a large Pirate contingent over in the Charlotte area, so hopefully we'll get some fans to come out and see us.
Absolutely. That's something I'm very excited about, being only 30 minutes from downtown Charlotte. I really look forward to playing a game in that area, even though I, of course, make it to Greenville quite a bit as well. But it's nice to have it right in your backyard. In addition to those tournaments, just talk about some of the other non-conference opponents. I know we're playing Old Dominion, and that's a game that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we've got Old Dominion on the schedule and Southern Miss, and I think we've got some good people coming in here. It's scheduling is a little different. It's a little weird, I could say. Some of the times you want to play somebody. The problem is you have to get, dates that fit. And sometimes it's a little bit hard to take around the Christmas time that you say, well, let's play them during exams, when we're done with exams. Well, your exams might be different than when their exams are, so that might take out 2 weeks of when you can schedule them. And then you have a drop dead date for where you have to not schedule because you could have a league game that day. So you can't schedule, and then you might not have a league game that day. And so there's some variables. Obviously with everything that's gone on, we've played some more local opponents, and I think we'll continue to do that, as you know, and I think the thing, like I've said, we've got to continue to get better so we can play better teams, because teams are looking at the net. You know, when we need to get our net lower, and that's a scheduling factor. So we have to continue to get better and get our net better so we can play better teams.
And Coach, one final question. You've been generous with your time as far as how do we sell more basketball season tickets? I know that there were a lot of people like myself that we wanted to have our usual season tickets. We couldn't last year, but I assume that we'll have that. And with Pirate Nation, how do we get those folks back?
I think we got to get better, and I think to create some excitement. I thought last year if we could get off to a good start, we create some excitement. And it's no one's fault. It's not the kids' fault. It's no one's fault. We just got to get better, and I think that'll create some excitement, get some fans in the stands.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. I know that you're out recruiting right now. You've had a busy summer, and we look forward to having you back on. I guess next time we'll talk to you as Media Day. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
Thanks, guys.